Handsome Cameron, if you had a wonderful session this morning, you got something out of it? Excellent, excellent. I want you to go home today and I want you to simplify one thing in your business, at least gain an hour per day in your life or in your business. Gain an hour per day to spend in the thing that you think you need more of. Now I want to open up to questions or comments or things that you learned. This could be anybody in the group. I want this to be extremely interactive. There's 44 of you. You can just either drop it in the chat or just unmute your mic. What was the biggest takeaway? By the way, first person unmute gets mad respect from the rest of the community.
Hi, Walter.
Nice job, Melissa.
Good morning, everyone.
I love it.
So I absolutely love the focus on the simplification, the delegation, and streamlining, and how you are mentioning about the hyper focus for next week, and just streamline, get rid of all the negative, get rid of all the naysayers, and just make it happen. And then, like Mike was saying, what you don't like to do, we'll focus on delegate. It's a team effort, and there's a piece of the pie for everyone. You make it happen. And of course, you're going to have the synergy and the energy, and everybody have that drive.
Absolutely. Let's give Melissa Baker a round of applause.
Thanks.
For anybody who doesn't know, Melissa is also a millionaire. She's been extremely successful in multiple businesses. She's got a real estate brokerage she runs. She has an investment company she runs. And she's looking to expand both businesses for her daughter because she's got a big heart and it's all about legacy. So awesome job, Melissa. And she loves empowering other women. You can see just by the back of her, the stuff she's got on her wall. Who's next? Comment, share, lesson, or question, something that came up during the call. This is your chance.
All right, Walter, I'm going for it.
Nice job, Desiree. Let's give Desiree a round of applause. That was a quick unmute.
So
almost
here's
as fast as Melissa's.
No, not as fast, but I'm close. So my question is, talking to someone about seller financing. I mentioned this to my dad who's looking to move. And I told him, I said, have you ever considered seller financing? But I'm not quite sure how to have that conversation with him. So what are some things that I need to present to him to kind of get him to think about doing that if he's getting ready to sell his house? Because I definitely want him to defer his capital gains. He's always talking about his taxes and things of that nature. So I'm trying to educate him before he makes that decision.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. Doing it with family is easy, right? You want to be able to just pay them every month. Like that's just, for me, when I think about my investors, I'm thinking about the money I'm sending them every month. I bless it. I love it. Like Lil Wayne, he's got that song, Make It Rain on Him. When I'm writing the checks, I'm like, yeah, make it rain on them. All my lenders out there getting money from me. It's it's a good experience. You want to bless that money.
Right.
So when you're thinking about talking to your dad, just be like, Dad, I want to pay you. Like, I want to be a part of your retirement plan. You know, like I'll be writing you a check every month. That excites me. I'm going to write this money to somebody, no matter what. I'd rather be writing it to you. And this really works best with families. So Desiree, this is very specific to you. Just like any kind of the questions here, very specific to the person. But with your dad, you can go that route, and 9 out of 10, that was way easier than any of the other logical reasons to go and work with somebody with seller financing.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
So my law office in my town, North Kingstown, I got with seller financing, and some people have heard this. I apologize if you've already heard this, but my advice is when it comes to seller financing, if the seller says no the first time, don't take no for an answer. Because what I was able to do with him was I found out that he had a small mortgage on the property that I was buying from him, and it was only $75K. And that's the reason, and I had no idea, but that was the reason he wasn't willing to do seller financing. So when we looked at the title and saw that he had this mortgage, I went back to him and I said, hey, if I paid off your $75,000 mortgage, would you loan me the money? And he said, yeah. And so that's what we did. So I paid off his mortgage. That was like a down payment on the building. I was going to put the down payment anyway. And he gave me all the money for the rest of it. And then once you do get seller financing, do what I did. If it's due on the 1st, show up on the 23rd with the check in hand. Every month I would hand him his check for the next month on over a week early. And when it came time for me to refinance, he seemed bummed out because every month I was bringing him a check early. He was loving it. And then I was like, hey, I'm refinancing. He's like, why? But yeah, so treat your sellers nice once you do get it, but don't take no for an answer. There's some stat about people will say no like 4 or 5 times before they say yes. So find a way and ask more than once. Yeah.
Let's give Michael Shine a round of applause, and Desiree a round of applause. Great question.
For sure. I'd like to jump in on what Mike was talking about, because a lot of times people say no and we just take it as no, and we have no idea why they said no. And so Grant Cardone actually says no means you don't know something. And so, no, N-O means you don't know, K-N-O-W something. And so when you hear no, you want to start inquiring as to what no means and what part of what you guys are talking about is the no attached to. When you can really dig into that, you can get to a deal and you can get to an agreement, and you align with them in a way that really, one, helps them to feel like they're heard, and two, it really removes a lot of the bumps along the way. People make that mistake so much in just going, oh, they said no, I feel rejected, and run away. Find out what no means.
Absolutely. And for seller financing, but I did want to reiterate one more time, ask multiple times, ask a lot, ask often, ask multiple times, go at it different angles, just listen to the no's easily, because they are going to be a yes eventually. And what Mike dropped down is a super valuable piece, because most people don't realize the value of the relationship. Mike used to take the check and drop it off. When we were doing our borrowing, we used to do a lot of borrowing earlier in the business. Ron multiple times made the attempt to go and put us on just automatic deposit into the lender's accounts. And multiple times I told him, no, I want that check written by hand. I want them to receive a letter. I want them to receive a physical letter a week in advance. I want them to see it early, not on the 1st. If we're at the 1st, we're late. I want that thing in there early, and I want it to be a physical memory, something they can think about. They're seeing it, they're physically taking it to the bank and depositing it, because I want them to remember how much money they're making with us. If it just shows up in the bank account, it's kind of no big deal. Does that make sense? Well, Mike did by driving it to the lender and giving it to them. That's going above and beyond building a relationship. It allows you to have 10, 15 minutes of conversation, which allows you to build even deeper relationships, which when it comes time to refinance, they may say, well, what else do you have? Do you have any other options? Do you want to jump into another loan together? Do you want to partner on something? Hands to camera if you're hearing this, if this is making sense to you. Valuable? Yes?
Oh, I totally, Walter, just to jump on that, I totally agree, because that seller, he owns a bunch of stuff in my town. And the times that I've gone over there just to drop off the check, it starts off like a 5-minute thing and ends up I stay there for like an hour, just talking to him about what's next. We've had a couple of deals we've almost done. He's got other property. He's an older gentleman, doesn't want to retire, but at some point will retire. And so tons of opportunities. It's something I actually learned from Walter is always have a conversation. Walter met a billionaire in line in the airport last week just from having a conversation. And so this whole week I've just been randomly talking to people, and I haven't gotten any deals out of, but it's really improved my life. It's just fun to talk to people, and just to communicate. So, yeah.
Mike, that actually puts me up to 2 millionaires. I want to say 2 billionaires in 2 weeks, right? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I had a quick question to follow up, Mike. So in that situation, did you investigate, or could you have possibly gone to a bank to borrow the 75 and just combine the two financing and just pay closing costs? Like, was that a possibility? Is that something that was thought about?
Yeah, of course. That would just be partial seller financing. That's definitely an option.
Because that would have to be cleared with because that bank wants a, first lien, and they would have to be okay with the second. But as long as the cash flow pays their note and pays theoretically on paper all the notes, they should be okay. But then some banks give you a hard time about that. So I was just curious
Right.
about.
Well, so the deal I did yesterday, it wasn't seller financing, but
Mhm.
I went to a bank because I wanted to get a second mortgage. And a lot of banks, like you said, won't allow you to get a second mortgage. And some people do it without asking, but I'm an attorney, so I have my bar license in 5 states, so I'm not gonna mess with that. So we
Mhm.
found a bank that would allow a second mortgage behind the first of up to 10%. And so I only put down 15% on the one we just did. So I got 2
Wow.
mortgages. So yeah, you got to look for it. You're absolutely right. A lot of banks will give you a hard time, but we found this was up in Haverhill. This was Reading Cooperative said they will allow a 10% second mortgage of the exact same terms and conditions as the first mortgage. So
Can I ask
that's
you what the rate was
3.95%
on the second?
on the second and the first.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's wild. So you could potentially get into commercial 20% down. You could potentially get into something, no partners,
Yeah.
like 10% of your own money.
Well, it's 25, this was 25% down. So I had to put down 15. We got a second for 10% and
Right.
the bank gave
Wow.
75%.
So
Wow.
Which was,
basically out of pocket 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
that's great.
Which when I saw the loan amount made my heart skip because that was
That's a big
a
note.
big one for me. It's all new, just leveling up.
When you
So,
get the
yeah.
appraisal next year, you'll be all worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because you'll refi and you'll have, 30% position.
Yeah. Well, at 3.95, I don't think we're refining. It's got a prepayment
Right.
penalty, but we're
Yeah, I
not,
wouldn't
we're not
touch that
going
one.
anywhere on this one for a while, just cash flow.
That's wild, man.
Yep, yep.
Good stories.
Awesome. Let's give John Becker and Mike Shine a round of applause. Great questions, great
Mhm.
statements, great comments. What else? Other questions? And for everybody who's still on with us, this is just the fun part. This is your opportunity to ask us questions, your opportunity to share some of your lessons. And if some of the coaches have to jump off, I understand. I'll stay on as long as there's questions being asked. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just looking at Desiree in the chat. She says, always ask for seller financing. And I may seem very sort of forward and high eye here, but when I'm in like a house, looking at a house with like a realtor or whatever, I get nervous about it. But I've kind of taught myself to ask about the seller financing. I feel like I don't like hearing the word no. But yeah, if you do it, like every single property we look at, we always say to the realtor, hey, do you think the seller would do some seller financing? And you just it gets easier to do it. So don't be shy because it could mean the difference between doing a deal and not doing a deal. So it's worth it.
I love that. And the way I ask, who would like to hear the way I ask? It makes it nonchalant, makes it easy. I don't sweat when I ask for seller financing. The easiest way to go in about it is just, hey, does the seller know about seller financing? Right? Does the seller understand it? Do they know about it? Have you guys talked about it? That little question kind of sets the bar. That's all I really need to know in the beginning anyway. I understand this is a multiple step process. So, hey, does the seller know about it? Have they talked to you about seller financing? No, not yet. Okay. Do you think that their situation would actually fit for it? How much do they need? What are they looking to do with the funds? Or is this just a straight shot? And even if it is just a straight shot, I'm still going to ask for it. But I want that little bit of understanding of what's going on with the money. What are they looking to do with it? And if, the seller says, oh, I'm not telling you, like, that's not your business. Sometimes you can sweeten up a deal if you know what's going on with the deal. And that's why I'm asking, maybe I can make it a little bit easier for you, give you more of what you're looking for instead of just going down the blunt, you only get one option road. There may be more opportunity to make more out of this deal. So I just like to help people, like to learn more about the person. That's all.
Yeah, I think that Walter has it down. I mean, when he talks about the tax benefits and the not a huge capital gain and you're going to get a check, he has it down. So practice before you go in, knowing those things, saying, hey, do you realize that if you sell this, you're going to have a huge capital gain? Or do you realize that this is going to be something where you're going to get income every month? And what are you doing? That's just, he's got it down. So be ready.
And Dorena put this in the chat, and I was just going to say that some sellers don't know what it is. So you have to educate people, and that's the perspective I come from. I'm trying to educate my dad because he's a traditional type of person, buy, sell, hold, buy, sell, hold. But it's like, no, I want to educate you. You have some options. Why don't you get a little income? This could be a little side hustle, So I'm always of the mindset to educate people when I'm going in.
And Desiree, the best way to educate them is the retirement plan. Let them know, hey, real estate isn't about buy, sell, hold. Real estate is buy, sell, hold, lend. Like the ultimate graduation in real estate is to be the bank. Remember, who lines their walls with marble is the Catholic Church and the bank, right?
Exactly.
The Catholic Church lines their walls with marble because they have belief, and the bank lines their walls because they have all the money.
All the money.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're the bank. That's the ultimate graduation. And explain to your dad, hey, I heard from a reliable source that the goal as an investor is to eventually retire. And the way to retire is to lend out money just like the bank does. The bank's never been out to one of the properties. The bank's never been out and checked on the toilets and the tenants. They just collect the interest rates. That's the ultimate goal. And as far as telling the seller how seller financing works, never tell, be asked. Answer the question. You have to get them to ask you how seller financing works. Well, what are the benefits? Why should I do it? Have you heard of seller financing? Right? That's floated by them. Have you heard of seller financing? If they say yes, excellent. What do you like about it? Right? What do you like about it? What don't you know about it? Or what scares you about it? What are your concerns around it? Oh, this, that, yeah. And anytime somebody gives you a concern, how to win friends and influence people, right? Go back to Dale Carnegie's process of, yeah, I can totally understand how that would be a concern. Oh, that makes a ton of sense. Absolutely. I'd be concerned with, is this person going to pay me back or not too? Right. Absolutely. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Just,
Go ahead, Mike.
just to add to what Desiree said, Melissa's got her hand up, but
Okay.
I've also realized that a lot of realtors don't know what it is. So you're talking to a realtor and you're like, hey, will they hold paper? That's just the phrase I use. And they're like, oh, so you may need to educate the realtor too. And you may never get to the seller if you don't educate that realtor because they're afraid to ask their own clients about it. So education.
And going one more step to what Mike just said, the realtor may listen to you and still not go ask their own client. And they may give their own opinion of whether the seller wants to do seller financing or not. So be very, very careful with, oh, I asked. You may not have asked. The seller may not have heard, right? They may never have gotten that question. So you got to put it in writing sometimes. You've really got to explain the process. And for me with agents, I take the agent under my wing, even though I'm the client, right? I'll take them under my wing and say, hey, by the way, the easiest way to explain seller financing to somebody is this. I'll explain it to them the way that I want them to explain it to the client. And then I'll email that over to them. A very clear, simple explanation, or I'll text it to you. I typically text, I don't email, but you want to make sure that that conversation goes the way you want that conversation to go. And make sure that the agent has it in writing. Otherwise, these are agents that are high eyes. Results may vary. You're going to get whatever they interpreted, right? They're not always the most factual people. Awesome. I see Heidi Rain on the call. What's up, Heidi? Melissa, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Walter, I've got a situation that maybe I can speak to you later, but I've got about this private seller financing. I've got a gentleman, older gentleman, he's retiring. He actually has sold 2 of his complexes, and there's one that we've been trying to buy. And now he keeps saying, well, the tax consequences and so forth. And so, in the back of my mind, I was still about seller financing. So, because if he were to hold paper, I mean, we put a decent, whatever he wanted down, we put down, and then he can defer until the year that he wants for his tax purposes, right?
Yeah, you can eliminate the tax burden entirely, and he can get rid of his risk, right? Because what happens if the market drops tomorrow? What happens
Yeah.
if the market drops this year? And by the way, anytime I have a conversation about seller financing or I'm with a motivated seller, I tell them the same thing I tell you. Look, market could drop tomorrow. I can't predict the future. Do I think it's going to keep going up for a little while? Yes, I do. You know, my sights are on 2024. But here's the deal. Everybody in 2007 thought the market was going to keep going up. And in 2008, it crashed and it stayed crashed for 6 years. So do you want to be in that situation where the market drops and you can't get this money? Yes, I know you want to avoid the tax gain. Let's get the sale now. And then we can defer the payments, not the payments, we can defer the taxes to whatever year you want the taxes deferred in. We can do multiple, you want to defer it over 3 years? Cool. We can break the loan out with small partial balloon payments, and you're paying a certain amount in 22, a certain amount in 23. You know, we could break this out any way that makes the most sense for your taxes. But if you want to close in 2021 and get a little bit of that tax gain right now, we need to get this paperwork going today. Are you ready to sign? Are you ready to get this going?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really good
Always
tool
work
for
with the
sellers.
best.
I always work with the best. Seller financing is a really, really good tool for sellers and to advantage themselves tax-wise in their tax plan. And it also gives them income, passive income that they didn't have access to before. Or if they're selling a multifamily, now they're gaining back access to that monthly check. So it really is a very valuable tool. We're not just, hawking something that people don't want. They just don't know about it. They just don't understand about it. Awesome. Later, Terry. We'll stay on for a few more minutes. Any questions?
Yeah, I gotta
Questions,
go,
comments?
but I gotta say, with the best.
What else?
The
Comments,
best.
questions? There it is. Well, in that case, since they're already throwing out the always work with the best, ladies and gentlemen, the point is not to work, it's to generate income. Next week, Wealth Principle 47, Hyper Focus. This is a super high leveraged principle if you take it from where we just did today. Clear your schedule because next week I'm going to give you the one thing you should be focusing on to move yourself forward. Mike Stein's already showing you the book of the week, which is the one thing. So if you want to get a jump start on this week's book, Wealth Principle 47 is only 5 principles away from the end of the Wealth Principles. Hands to the camera if you're excited to finish the year and start over. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Another powerful year of the 52 Wealth Principles. Cheers to your success, ladies and gentlemen. When you have a choice, always work with the best. I'll see you online. You can send messages.
Christmas morning? Is that what you're saying? You're meeting Christmas morning?
Tom, I don't fuck around, bro. Right? Merry fucking Christmas. You're welcome. I will be there. I will do the Wealth Principles on Christmas morning. I'll be in New England doing that Wealth Principle, visiting my family. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm in my car driving New England, so I'll be there.
So Tom, if you can't make it, no worries. I'll see you online. I know everybody watches the recordings on Facebook, but Tom, I expect to see you. I know you got nothing better to do at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. So even if it's Christmas. So I'll see everybody. Cheers to your success. We have a choice. Always work with the best.
Work with the best.